questions. We have tons of them. What if some of those questions can be answered with a simple email? Now is that time, and welcome to Chat with Charlie. Host Stephanie Lynn is a certified spiritual life coach and psychic medium. She will work together with Spirit to answer both your submitted and live questions. Not only will Stephanie be providing you with insight, but also interviews with amazing guests. Now, your host of Chat with Charlie, Stephanie Lynn.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Chat with Charlie on WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio. I am your host, Stephanie Lynn. If you're joining for the first time today, we're bringing in a guest. We're going to actually be talking about paranormal experiences, but our topics vary week to week. So this week, we're really focusing on what happens when you're a paranormal investigator? What happens when some of those things follow you home? What goes bump in the night? And trying to get that perspective. Good morning, Jackie. Thank you for tuning in. From people who do that, who that is really their passion. So I want you all to help me welcome our guest for the day, RezNeck. He is a paranormal investigator with Wisconsin CAPS, which is a paranormal cryptid and anomaly team, and who was founded by one of our other hosts, Barnaby Jones. So please help me welcome RezNeck to the show.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Doing great.
Good. I'm really excited to have you come on and kind of get your perspective of what goes on in paranormal investigations. But before we get to all the fun stuff and the stories that people tune in to hear, how did you get into investigating? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in a spiritualist church. Always knew about spirit and lived in several haunted houses growing up, and spent years of kind of just sitting on the sidelines, watching the shows, saying, "Yeah, I should be doing that, and I'm going to do that one of these days." And finally reached out to Barnaby a little over a year ago and said, "Hey, I'd like to join your team. I want some validation for the things I feel and I see, along with starting to actually build a career in this field, because it's something I very much enjoy."
Absolutely. And I think, at least for me, when you have that passion that kind of leads into just wanting that understanding, wanting to know, like you said, that validation, what's going on. Is it, for me at least, it was like, okay, am I losing my mind, or where is the validity in these experiences? And I like how you brought up, because I'm very similar. I've had my abilities since I was a kid. I've had these experiences since I was a kid. And as a kid, they're kind of normalized. Like, I didn't realize for a long time that other people generally didn't have these experiences. Was it like that for you too? Did you think this was just kind of part of life for everybody?
Yeah, actually, I was taught from a young age that everyone has these abilities. Is just those that chose to use them or not, or had the proper guiding to understand them.
Yeah, I like that. So as you kind of started coming into doing your research and having these validations, how did to me, it feels very rewarding. Did you kind of feel like you finally found your niche, found a place that felt like home, I guess?
Yeah, actually, I feel more comfortable in haunted places and doing this stuff than I do sitting in the real world, as people call it.
Yeah.
It's a calming sensation when you can actually shut the mind down and you feel the spirit around you. You're led by spirit through the different parts of the locations, because they want to tell a story. They're there for a reason.
Absolutely. And I love, having been on, we got to investigate once together. I'm new to the CAPS team, but what I like, and in my experience with learning and coming on as a team member, is you guys seem to approach things from the same way I like to approach things, being respectful. I'm not going, looking for the boo. I'm going to understand. I want to hear from maybe the spirits who are overlooked because they're not the scary spirits, or they're not, an overwhelming presence. How do you conduct your investigations?
Well, I go in, I kind of look around, I feel around, anything that wants to come to me, I'm there. I let them come talk to me or feel their presence, ask questions. I'm not big on the technology,
Right.
you know. So far, I've realized I've had better success basically with a recorder and just myself.
Okay.
I take a few pieces with me just in case, something wants to light up or hit a REM pod or a spirit ball. Just that little extra for the visual side of it. Because it kind of makes me feel that I'm not so crazy.
Yes. I get that, because that's kind of where I'm at, because I feel like I do the same thing. I use my abilities, I put my energy out to connect. But even if the information I'm giving is validated through research that has been done, I still like to have that extra piece that says, you're not crazy. The Oculus said yes, and you were talking about that. So
Right.
sometimes that's nice.
It is. It really is. Especially when you work with someone as talented as you are, like we did in
Oh,
that one
jeez.
investigation. I got so much validation from that investigation. It kind of blew my mind. There's a lot of things that, I hear, sense, feel that I normally keep to myself.
Right.
And it's like, well, I don't know if I'm crazy, if I should say anything. And I'd
Yeah.
say something, and you or another team member go, yeah, that's right. You're
Yeah.
on something.
Right. And it's, but I understand that, though, because the first time that I investigated with Barnaby was a resonance, and Ellie was there too, and some other colleagues, I guess. But I was so scared, because I was like, just like you, there were some things that I kept to myself. And even on that investigation that we did together, where I'm like, I'm getting this, but I've also been watching a lot of horror movies because it's around Halloween. So I'm like, good morning, Courtney. I'm like, am I getting this because I just watched this happen on a movie, or it actually happened? But I think you find, as you get comfortable giving that you'll see so much more of that validated, because you're fantastic. You're just, but I think just learning and trusting what we get and being open to giving that.
Yep. Yeah. The more you open up, the more that comes to you.
Yeah.
And that's plain and simple.
So how do you think your abilities affect your research? I know you said you like to, not always rely on the equipment. You like to kind of connect. Do you think that so I guess what I'm actually asking is, part of you wanting to get into the paranormal was to help you understand yourself and your experiences?
Some of it was also, like most people, I'm a thrill junkie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm the one that, you want to send someone to a dark basement that, has issues and people have been scared of.
Right.
I'm going in head first.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
No, I noticed that on that last investigation, and because Barnaby's like, Steph, you're going in the basement. I'm like, oh shit. And then you're like, I'll go. I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. I'm like, I didn't want to go down there first. Get sucked into like a little cubby or
Right.
something. I don't know.
Well, no spoilers, but future content you'll see. I'm getting sent in the basement a little more often in different places.
I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for very interesting. And I'll remember to not team up with you first until you get out of the basement. I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
come on. We can have some fun.
Do you find, so I know for me, one of my things is, and I'm new to investigating, and I know more as I go through more experiences that'll come, but and I go back to when we were investigating with Barnaby at a residence, and I was connecting to somebody, and I was actually sitting in a closet, but I felt like I could literally feel this presence move in behind me, and it was definitely a different presence than what I was communicating with. And I instantly, like, I felt myself start to become more aware of controlling my energy. and not allowing that more negative energy to take me to a fearful mental state. How do you control that for yourself?
I pretty much was taught from child there's nothing to fear except for fear itself.
Right.
So if I walk into something, if I feel something kind of negative or dark, I'll go looking for it.
Yep.
But on the other hand, I'm aware of what I'm doing.
Yes. Yes.
It's not like I'm just some weekender that goes, oh, hey, let's go play in a dark spot. No,
Absolutely.
I know how to shed them afterwards.
Yes.
I've had experience with passing over spirits and cleaning houses and all that.
Yes.
And so I take that background and I walk with it and I run with it.
Absolutely. Have you ever had where you're getting set, so you have the information, you've committed to an investigation, where you have spirits maybe that people might see as more negative spirits trying to convince you not to come?
No,
Really?
actually, I've never had anything tell me not to come or try to keep me away. Usually I don't open up to the point where prior to investigation going, hey, I'm coming. I go open minded. I don't do my research ahead of time. I wait till
Right.
afterwards.
Right.
So I come in clear headed. A lot of times I won't even know an address until the day of,
Yes.
just because I don't want to tap in ahead of time and possibly ruin anything for myself or any of my research for during and after.
Absolutely. And I like that because for me, I'm still working on the controlling, because the minute I commit, and it may not even be like where I don't have the address, but it's like, okay, this date's, this is where we're going. The minute I say yes, I start getting stuff, and I'm working on controlling that. But that's something I have a difficult time with, because I'm like a lot like you, and I know Ellie is too, where we don't want to know the addresses. We don't want to know the basis of what's going on, because we want to come with that open mind where we don't have those preconceived notions. Have you had or ever had anything follow you home or leave with you from an investigation?
Yep, I have. Not only from investigations, just and going to places in real life. I've
Yes.
had stuff follow me home.
Yeah.
And that's when you got to kind of guard your family and you
Right.
take certain steps behind it. Anytime I do go to a location and I feel something there, I tell them right off the bat, hey, I'm here to interact with you. I'm here to
Right.
observe you. I come in peace. But when this is done and I jump in my truck, you got to stay here or go somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Right.
You can't come with me.
Right.
That's like step
Absolutely.
one right there.
And I think, and it sounds like you also can tune in with some of those more negative energies. And I do worry about people who, I don't want to say haphazardly, but don't take the time to understand what they're jumping into, and not realizing how some of these things can affect you outside of just that immediate investigation.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, they see the shows and think, oh, I can do that. And they kind of go running out to the next darkest spot they can get for that thrill. But
Right.
them are the ones that usually bring the negativity home with them. And
Right.
then they're calling someone to come help them out because they got themselves in a jam.
Yeah. Yeah. They're calling Ellie. Hey, Ellie, help me out.
Yep.
Which I've done that too. So it happens, but you're right. And I don't think people understand that flow of energy. So it's not just, the investigations, but like you said, going out in public where you can have things attach that may just want to feed off of your energy, or have those things come to you.
Yep. Yeah, I found prime examples. Me and my wife were house hunting a couple of years ago, and I'd walk into a house and you just, I feel creeped out. There's
Right.
something there. But in my experience, a lot of times they stay a few feet ahead of me. They don't come up to me and try to interact right away because
Right.
they're scared.
Yes.
Because of my knowledge and my background, they keep their distance.
Yes.
And I'll walk in and I'll kind of tour the house, or if it's something that I really don't like, hey, hon, I'm going to go outside and have a cigarette. I'm sorry. The same for me in here.
Right. I like how you bring up house hunting, because my husband and I, a couple years ago, well, this is quite a few years ago, same thing, we were looking for houses. And I remember And Jackie commented, I'm afraid to look at new houses, which I totally get because we went in and we're looking at this house. And we only had my oldest son at the time. And I remember holding him really close and I felt like the whole building was full, like it just felt crowded.
Yeah.
And I kept looking over my shoulder and I'm like, there's something that doesn't feel right. And at this point, I was really ignoring all my abilities at that time. But so we go down to look at the basement, and I took 2 steps into the basement, pulled my son closer, and I was out of there. I'm like, I went out, I sat in the car, and my husband came out and he's like, what's going on? I'm like, there's something not right about this house. I said, it felt so full. And it felt to me like the way it was set up that it had been a funeral home at one time. And he says, well, he goes, actually in the basement, like there were like slabs where they would work on people. I'm like, yeah, no, we can't buy that house. Like too much going on.
Yeah.
So I like that. That's so true. And to the viewers, please, if you are a beginner paranormal investigator, if you're somebody who's looking at getting into it, you're a professional investigator, please hop on, send us your questions, send us your comments. I know RezNeck would love to answer some of those. So outside of your investigating, when you moved into doing this with CAPS, what are some of your favorite stories of the things that go bump in the night?
Well, as far as with CAPS, I can't really talk about much because the shows with me in it and the episodes and investigations we've done hasn't aired yet.
Yes.
So later on in the future, I'll have to come back and talk about that.
Absolutely.
As far as personal experiences, I remember as a child, we lived in this one house, and I was in like an old farmhouse, and the city had built up around it. And it was a tri-level, and my parents' room had a walkway up to the attic.
Okay.
Well, in the middle of the night, you hear thump, 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 like somebody's coming down these stairs, and you hear a knock on the door. And if you answer it, either they pass through or leave us alone. You say pass through, you hear the door handle jiggle, and that was it.
Okay.
If you didn't answer it, you kept hearing that knocking until you did.
Very interesting.
And if you didn't want them to pass through, hey, leave us alone, and you hear them walk right back up the stairs.
Very interesting.
They wouldn't do anything.
Do you ever wish, like, I know growing up in the house I grew up in, it was built in the 1850s. It was a very active house. And there's still times I really try to convince my mom to let us come in and investigate. But do you ever wish you could go back to some of those locations?
Oh, yeah.
Now that you have that knowledge and try to understand what was going on?
Exactly. I wish I could. Unfortunately, the 2 of the houses that left the biggest imprint on me are no longer standing.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
The land's there, the land's open, but the houses aren't.
Very interesting. We do have a couple questions, but I think before we get to those and we move on in our topics, we'll take a quick station break. Then when we come back, we'll go to some questions from our viewers and continue our discussion into what goes bump in the night. So we'll see everybody in just a minute.
Heard a girl scream down here.
Are you kidding me right now?
I'm listening.
Very well. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chat with Charlie. It is 19 after the hour, and you are listening on WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio. If you are just tuning in, I am being joined by Wisconsin CAP's Paranormal Investigator, RezNeck. So, hello, welcome back. If anybody is watching, you probably just saw that commercial in there for Paraflix, and that got me thinking on one thing which I do like, because I think Paraflix highlights this with their programming very well, is a lot of times you're going in as an investigator to help people, to help them solve, yes, sometimes it's our own curiosity, but a lot of times it's people reaching out. Have you experienced that where people just, they have no other resources?
Yeah, actually, I've had family, friends, people, friends of friends over the years say, hey, my kid's scared, or my wife is scared of something. We see shadow figures, this and that, or we've had this experience. And a lot of times they'll ask me to come in and actually do a cleansing in the house.
Yes.
And I take back from my Native American roots. I go in and I smudge with gray sage and say prayers. And I pretty much tell them, hey, you got to take ownership of this area.
Absolutely.
So once I leave, I can get rid of them for now, but you got to keep it up. Because if you don't, then it's possibly going to be coming back.
Absolutely. And that's what, of all things, I mean, it's fun to talk about the fun side of investigating, but if you're somebody listening who you're like, I need this resource, I need somebody that I can go to who's going to believe me, who's going to listen to me. I know our producer has been putting up the CAPS website, but you can reach out to them, reach out to the team members, and they will listen. They will see what resources they can give you. They will see what they can do to help. So please keep that in mind, just in the back of your head. If you're listening or you know somebody that needs those resources, to please share that with them. So as we were going to break, Diana said, who I know very well, that she wishes she could go back to a house that she lived in winter and the one she grew up in, also for those same things, having those experiences as a kid that we may not have been in a position to understand, but now we can look at it from that different perspective. Jackie asks, what is your favorite paranormal tool to use when you're using tools?
Honestly, like I mentioned before, like the ghost balls, REM pods, my digital recorder, and myself. That's the biggest things. I've used some of the grids, it's been pretty interesting. But other than that, I really don't use much of the tools. I'm still learning how to use them.
Yes.
So.
And I know Ellie and I were actually just talking last night, and we were talking about the spirit boxes.
Yep.
I know I struggle with, and I wonder if it's like this for you, because I always have so much going on in my head that I feel like when I'm trying to listen to the spirit box and there's all that static, and it's like everything commingles with the static, what's coming through in my head, that I have a really hard time focusing on that tool. And I'm thinking it probably just needs, training my ear, paying attention to some of that detail, because it, like when Barnaby listens, I mean, he gets that stuff so fast, and I'm like, man, I'd have never heard that.
Yeah.
Do you have
he's
similar issues?
Really good with that.
He is. Yeah. He's phenomenal. And I'm like, damn, I wish I could understand what the hell they're saying in there, but I can't. It like fries my brain, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Have you had experience with using that? Do you find that one more hard to use?
I personally haven't had too much opportunity to use one. I do want to get one just so I can, check it out, use it, lack of better terms, play with it.
Yes.
Just to kind of train my ears and know what to listen for.
Absolutely.
When they use them on the different shows, a lot of times I'll hear what they're thinking they're hearing, but sometimes I hear something different.
Right. Yeah, I've had that happen too. I like that. And I know I go to Ghost Stop when I'm trying to stock up on a lot of my paranormal investigating tools. And I believe on the CAPS website, if you go through there to Ghost Stop, that it gives some kickbacks back to the team. Do you know?
Yes.
Okay.
Very true.
Go to
yeah.
Shop.
I basically tell everyone, hey, hit our website,
Yes.
wisconsincaps.com. We have, tools on there. We have our own swag on there, which I'm wearing one of our shirts today.
Yep.
This is for our Bean Snappers Paranormal Tour.
Yes, which is so much fun. If you guys are looking for, we had the opportunity, which I won't talk about because I do believe that's an episode in the works, but we had so much fun down there. So, and you guys are great. Like, people that are new, you take them around, you have all the equipment. So really check that out. But
Yeah, they can use our equipment, I believe, or if they have equipment of their own, they can bring it too.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I even if you're somebody who's just, like you said, looking for the thrill, to be there with a professional team that will, make sure everything's going smoothly, you really gotta check that out. Deidre says she has the opposite issue, that she tends to focus on the tool and forget that she is the tool also.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. And it's not so much they forget to focus. Some of them don't even know they have these abilities.
Yes.
And then they're not tuning into them.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great point. And I've known people who like to go on investigations and they're like, yeah, I felt this or I felt that. And I'll be like, well, do you think you're intuitive? Oh, no. And I'm like, they don't make that correlation.
Yep. Either that or they might be scared to accept it.
Well, I think we can all relate at some level to that. Ellie says, I recommend taking the Bean Snapper tour. Also, it is great. So trust us, people. You definitely want to check that out. Casey asks, does the CAPS team, I mean, I know you guys travel throughout Wisconsin, but she's like, how much does it cost for an investigation if they need somebody to come in?
We don't charge, far as I know, to come in to investigate and stuff like that. We're there to kind of do our research and to help others around.
Absolutely. And that's, I thought that was accurate, but I didn't want to speak out of turn. So if you have something going on, Casey, please hop on. The website is also posted at the very top of the comments, so you can find it later. It'll still be popping up throughout the show, but reach out to the Wisconsin CAPS team and let them know what you have going on and see if that's something they feel they can help with.
Yep. And just for those that aren't in our area here, we do have other teams that we can call upon if you're somewhere else, that we can, get you the help you need.
Yes, absolutely. That's one thing I like about this field is I feel like, for the most part, the paranormal community, the metaphysical community, we're here to bring you resources. So if we can't get to you, if we don't think we can help you, we try to put you in contact with somebody that can give you those resources.
Oh, yeah. I've found that, in this field, that everyone's pretty much willing to help for the most part.
Absolutely.
We're a big, almost like a big family.
Yeah. And it's nice to finally have, and I know for you with your background, you had that initial support. But for me, it has been I've just been so grateful to come into a place where you have the soul family that comes in and it's a safe place to talk. It's a safe place to network. People don't look at you and go, well, they might think I'm crazy, but not because I tell them I talk to dead people. So it's nice to have that connection.
Yeah, it's acceptance.
Absolutely.
And that's a great thing.
Yes. And outside of, so one thing I do want to talk about that we haven't talked a lot about yet, or actually talked about at all yet, is you are also an ink therapist. So what is, outside of your paranormal investigating, what do you do?
I don't like using the term tattoo artist, because the way I look at it is, it's all about the experience of getting the tattoo. Yes. And the art is just the bonus of it.
Absolutely.
I work with a lot of people that used to be cutters or have issues that really can't get out, don't know how to communicate with someone, don't feel comfortable with
Right.
modern medicine, modern therapies. So they go, hey, I really need some help. Then it relieves, produces endorphins
Yes.
that they're looking for. And a lot of them, they sit in my chair and they open up to me like, I've been their best friend for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then I speak upon, my own personal experiences, what I've learned over the years, say, hey, don't take me as a professional, as an expert, but this is what I've lived through. This is what I've experienced. If you can take anything from it, great.
Yeah.
A lot of them I say, hey, if you really need more help, don't be afraid to call someone a professional. Because,
Absolutely.
I'm not that person, but I am a kind ear. I'm one that will listen to you and help you as much as I can.
Well, and I think, for most people, and I love that, is they need that non-judgmental ear. And somebody who can look at them and say, "Hey, I've had life experiences." We all do shit we shouldn't. We all
Yeah.
have experiences. And so to have somebody who can listen and not judge somebody is huge.
Oh yeah. And that it's a good thing to have that support system. Everyone needs a support system, whether it's from their family, their
Absolutely.
friends, a professional in the field.
Yeah.
It's just who you're personally comfortable opening up to and starting the process.
Do you have a shop? Do you have a way people get in touch with you if they're looking for tattoos?
I don't have a shop at this time.
Okay.
I have looked at possibly getting in a shop, but then I think that would take away from a lot of the other things I like to do.
Yes.
So sometimes, people contact me and say, hey, can you come out and see me? Or I
Right.
have an area set up where in my home where I can actually take care of it that's clean and sterile.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I try to be most accommodating as possible.
I love that. And one of our viewers, she commented, she said, "Oh, I have an itch for new ink. This is amazing." So, and I do think a lot of people, and I know people close to me who, like you said, the art that they have put on their body represents a healing to a trauma.
Yep.
It represents a new phase that they're moving into, and it's kind of their way of bringing a conclusion to that old chapter, if that makes sense.
Yep, it does. Whether it's bring a conclusion to an old chapter or actually starting a fresh one.
Absolutely. And Casey says, "Hey, can you come out and see me? This is me contacting you."
Hit me up on Facebook, RezNeck Inc., and message me there, and we'll see what we can put together.
Perfect. I love it. And do you have, that's one of your pages that I was not following. And so do you have images on there of your work?
Yeah, I have some of my work. Like
Awesome.
I tell everyone, I do it as a hobby.
Oh yeah, I get that. But it's nice to incorporate, and I think that's where some people, especially who are intuitive, can find a way to take something they like, but you're kind of able to intuitively tune in to somebody also and just maybe see those parts of them that other people don't see.
Yeah. When you spend an amount of time with people and they're in that kind of predicament, I guess you can say,
Right.
because most people, tattoos hurt for a lot of people.
Right.
There's pain involved, and you see a different side of them. Not everyone's like me and smiles when the needles hit the skin.
Right. Some
I
people
enjoy
like
it.
me, we get triaged when we have needles. So that's kind of been my deterrence for getting the tattoos that I want, because I'm just not sure how it'll go.
Right.
I'm not sure. So nobody needs somebody to pass out and be laying on I mean, I'm good. Like, you come up and you punch me, I'm gonna punch you back, but you pull out a needle, I'm like, just kidding.
Yeah, right?
Just kidding. I'm sorry. Here's all my money. Like, don't use a gun to hold me up. just bring a syringe. I'll be like, here you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no tattoo needle. Getting hit with them tattoo needles is a totally different feeling than getting stuck in the arm with an IV or
Right.
them drawing blood. It's a totally different feel. I'm not a big fan of getting my blood taken.
Right.
I'll sit and watch it just so they ain't poking me 10 times in a row
Right.
trying to hit the vein because
Yeah.
my veins roll.
Oh, mine too. Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks because when you get someone in there that thinks they know what they're doing, then they over and over and over again, before you know it, you look like a pincushion.
Yeah, and that doesn't go over well. And I feel bad. Like, I used to give people a speech when they, and I know we're totally off topic, but when they would come in to take blood or do lab work, and I'd give them a speech like how they only get one time and then I'm going to hit them. And then that would make them nervous, and then they would miss. And I'm like, oh, so I don't give this speech anymore. I try to be a good patient. That's called evolution, people. On my journey, I'm evolving. So I try to work through it.
I warn them right off the bat and say, hey, my veins roll. If you're not experienced with that, get somebody in here that is.
Right. Yeah. Like, don't send me the trainee, because that's the one thing that kept me from, actually, side note, I used to be an EMT and I was really interested in becoming a paramedic. And then I found out you had to practice on each other. That's not going to happen. I am not in orange. You are not practicing on this. So I was like, I'm out. Not worth it.
Right.
But back to topic, because we're totally in left field. With investigating, what is the joy? Like, what do you feel you get out of your investigations?
A lot of it's validation.
Yeah.
And then if I'm in a situation where I'm able to help someone, whether it is with the grief of the loss of a loved one that might be there with them, and being able to contact and connect with them on that level, or whether it's someone that needs help, that's scared, to give them that comfort to say, hey, someone's here with you. We're here to help. You're not alone. You don't have to face this alone.
Yeah. And I think, and I've seen it, bringing in a team of people who can say, okay, let's look at this together, also gives people who are feeling like they don't have control over what's going on, that, hey, I can take some control. I can do this. Here's these other people giving me these tools on how they're approaching it. So I feel like it takes them from being the victim of these paranormal experiences that they're not understanding, to feeling empowered.
Yep. You have to empower people.
Yes.
If you sit in that victim card and you use it all the time, you'll never properly heal and you won't progress forward.
Absolutely.
And I personally have had to learn that the tough way growing up.
Yeah.
And, it's hard, but you have to take control and, move forward and empower yourself and those around you.
Absolutely. And so Diana jumped in and she said, she's back to the tattoo. She said, imagine an eraser being rubbed over your skin until it's raw, and then it keeps getting rubbed over you. She's like, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Good comparison.
See, I could do that. That I could do. When somebody approaches you and they say, hey, I've got this going on, I'm scared, I'm not understanding, because I do feel like people who do not have experience with the metaphysical, with the paranormal, a interaction usually just scares them, and right away they go to it's negative, or because they're scared, where a lot of times it's maybe just somebody trying to reach out, and the way it comes across, you're kind of freaking out. What advice in that interim of being able to move in and help somebody, what advice or what things do you tell them to help them deal with the situation until you can get there and figure out what's going on?
Well, first I ask them exactly what is going on.
Yeah.
What are the feeling of it, stuff like that. And then a lot of times, tell them, hey, reach out to our creator.
Yeah.
To God and to Jesus and all that, believe in your faith. And you got to realize that not everything's evil, not everything's negative. And like you mentioned, it could be a loved one that's reaching out.
Right.
And that's why I ask for as much as the information as possible at that point, so I can kind of help decipher and give them other options and open their eyes to what else it could be.
Right. I like that, because I think when people, it doesn't always work where you contact a team and they can be there tomorrow. And so when it gets to that point where they're finally like, I need help, and then they want somebody there tomorrow, I like that you're able to talk to them, kind of look at what's going on, give them some information that's supportive until you can help. Because
Yeah.
what I'm seeing with people who aren't curious, they're not the ones that are like, oh, what's this about? They're the ones that are totally freaked out by what's going on. They are in crisis mode when they're reaching out.
Yes, a lot of them are. And you got to kind of back them away from that edge there.
Right.
Kind of talk them down, basically like you would a jumper. Back it up a little bit, relax, breathe. It's going to be okay.
Yeah. And give them some of those resources.
Yep.
How do you feel about, some paranormal investigators use tools like Ouija boards or some of those, what I would call old school contact methods.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, Ouija boards are something that I tend to stay away from, just because of the way I was raised, my lack of understanding. But are those tools that you look at and use? Have you found some of them maybe open doorways that people don't want opened?
As far as the Ouija board itself, I was always taught, hey, stay away from blah blah blah.
Right.
Mainstream society of they're no good.
Right.
But in all reality, it's the intent of the practitioner that's using the tool.
Yeah.
If you're someone that's looking for that negative entity to come through, or you're into the dark stuff, that's what you're going to get, because that's what you're putting out into the universe.
Yeah.
I've known mediums that use Ouija boards to give readings, and these are good people. They're positive people. So, it really is. It's the intent of the practitioner when it comes to any tool.
I like how you bring that up, intent, because that really is something that so many of us in this field focus on. When I sit down to give a reading, I set my intention of being a good conduit for spirit, making sure that I'm giving you information that is going to help you to your highest good. So I love that. I love how you bring in that intention, because you're right. Even a fork, based on your intention, could be used for good things, eating something, or shanking somebody. It really depends on your intent. So I like that. That's a great perspective to have. What advice do you have for any new investigators or people who are looking to step into this field?
Hook up with a team or someone that has knowledge. Just don't go into it blind.
Right.
Do your research. Have a good grounded faith in your belief system, and to always just remember that you're interacting with people. Just because they're not here in the physical realm, they're still people. They still have the same personalities that they had in this world as they do in the afterlife. So be respectful. Don't go in there like some of these shows and start provocating right off the bat.
Right.
If you think that that's the way to go, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons, my friend. There are times, though, when you might have to just to see what's there, but leave that to the professionals. Leave that to those that have the background and the knowledge of what to do if something goes awry then. Because when you start provocating, you could open up a can of worms that you have no knowledge on how to close it back up.
Absolutely. And I like that, because I have always approached it from, like you said, I'm just having a conversation with somebody. They don't have a body. And so introducing myself, and my intention when I go in to investigate is to understand and hear their stories. It's not, hey, I want something to scratch me or throw me across the room. It's I want to understand. And so I really like that advice that you're giving.
Yeah.
I have to laugh. Erica commented and she said, "No more Ouija boards since a few years ago." And and I think because she had reached out to me after her Ouija board incident, and I think in that case it was because there was no intention set. It was just, let's see what happens.
Yep.
And so we saw what happened. But I also
Been there,
like,
did that in high school.
yes, absolutely. And we did, what was that? Light as a feather, stiff as a board, which is a story for a whole nother time. But
Right.
yeah, intentions are important, people. They really are. But I do also like how you bring up having a belief system. And it doesn't matter what that system is, but where do you put that faith and that energy in what you believe in? That's really big.
It is. And, that resonates throughout the spirit world. Once you have that belief system and it's solid to the core, they can pick up on that. They sense more than what we realize.
Absolutely. And one thing I learned as a child, just in my interactions with more low level energies, was, and you'll probably understand this, but the ability to control my thoughts and what I put out. Because if you're in that scenario and you think of your worst fear, they will manipulate and play off of that. And so learning to just like you have to have that belief system, you also have to learn to have that control of thought.
Oh, most definitely. If you go in there and you're thinking about what you're scared of, you're thinking, oh, I don't want to be touched, I don't want to be scratched. Well, a lot of times that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That boils down to my training and with my research of reading the book The Secret.
Okay.
That's what really opened up a lot of my eyes, because what you put into the universe,
Yes.
it's going to come back to you.
Yes.
So when you keep that level head, and prime example, I think they use in the book, someone's always constantly concentrating on they're gonna get pulled over or get a speeding ticket because they're always late.
Right.
Them are the ones that get pulled over. Them are the ones that get the speeding ticket. Where the guy that lives goes, hey, I'm all right, I'll be okay, I'll be on time.
Yes.
They're the ones that skate through and they get by.
Yeah, I think we don't realize what the power of thoughts and that repetitive thoughts that we feed ourselves and we put out there, it really is a ripple effect.
It is.
I have to laugh because Jackie, who's my sister, for those of you who are new, she's referring back to the fork comment, and it's just kind of too funny not to acknowledge her comment, because she says, like stabbing someone in the hand who tries to eat your cake. And I just want to go back to my defense that I didn't draw blood, so it didn't count, and it was my cake. So
I could totally see that.
right, fair.
Totally.
I'm just saying it was my cake, and she wasn't bleeding. So not that I didn't still get in trouble, but I'm just putting
didn't
that out
break
there,
skin.
guys.
You're good.
Right. See, it was like a warning. Like when a dog just puts its mouth on your arm, it was just like a warning. Like, hey, the next one's gonna be worse.
Love it.
I love it. Before we let you go, anything else you want to tell us or throw out there, or advice you want to give anybody?
Just stay positive, everyone. We're in some time where things are negative a lot around the world. Stay positive, be kind to each other, and let's all raise up together.
I love that. And find your tribe, like you said, and be supportive of each other. We're not here to compete with each other. We're here to help each other.
Exactly. We, love thy brother, as it said in the Bible. Yeah. Take care of one another.
Absolutely.
And I've lived my life my entire life that way.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I am so appreciative, Rez, that you took time to come on today. It was so great to talk to you. I'm really looking forward to being able to participate in more investigations with you and getting to know you and the whole team better. I just thank you so much for what you do.
Definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, and thank you. And I believe you're coming up on a couple other shows in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll be on the Paranormal Room Monday night.
Perfect, with Christina.
Yeah. And then Exploring the Paranormal has reached out to me and wanted me on their show, which I believe is going to be in February.
Wonderful. Heather is amazing. So everybody, if you enjoyed what Rez had to say here. Please make sure you mark your calendars for Monday with the Paranormal Room with Christina and Logan. And then watch for those other dates coming up. You can always check the station schedule at WLTK-DB.com. Thank you so much, my friend. I will let you go. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we'll do some cards, talk about what's coming up on the show. See you guys in just a minute.
Bye.
Certified psychic medium Stephanie Lynn creates an authentic connection between the living and the spirit world. Stephanie knows she is here to help heal, educate, and provide validation that there is more after death, and allows herself to be a conduit and work as a team with spirit to pass on messages from their world to ours. Stephanie Lynn also works as a spiritual life coach to help you achieve, create, and manifest your best self and life. Looking for help communicating with an animal? Searching for a past life regression therapist? Or dealing with a paranormal experience? Stephanie Lynn is here to help. For a list of full services, visit her on Facebook under Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. That's Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. Ellie Weisensel's psychic medium is a medical intuitive that specializes as a body code practitioner. As an energy healer, Ellie offers additional services that allow her modalities to be intertwined with energetic healing. Within your subconscious lies information that knows everything about you and why you deal with specific conditions. The subconscious can be considered the blueprint to your entire body. With Ellie working physically with your subconscious mind, we detect what negative emotions are trapped and where they are stored within the body that is causing you your emotional and physical pain. This work is designed to remove imbalances and correct them energetically, getting to the root cause of why you have your condition, to help balance your body so it may heal itself. Your body is infinitely wise and wants to be in balance. The body code is not only gentle for humans, but it is also a gentle process to help animals. For more information, contact Ellie Weisensel at the website below.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chat with Charlie. I am your host, Stephanie Lynn, and you are listening to WLTK-DB, Let's Talk Radio. If you are just tuning in, you missed an amazing guest and paranormal investigator. So I hope you will go back. You can always download the show on Podbean. And if you've missed any shows, hop on. You can hop on iHeartRadio, you can hop on Amazon and catch up on some of the shows that you may have missed. They are all there waiting for you. So we have a ton of new shows coming to the station. Make sure you hop on WLTK-DB.com. Check out the upcoming shows. We have some new ones coming on in just a couple days and in a couple weeks. And there's topics for everybody. There's shows for everyone. So please, if you haven't checked out the other shows, do check out the other shows. Support the station because we are all here to be a resource to you. That's the reason that we're here. So a couple things before we get to the cards. And I do feel like we're going to be pulling 4 cards. So if you have had something kind of on your mind, something that you may be looking for a little bit of support or clarification on, start kind of sending out those vibes. I'll start shuffling the cards and we'll be giving you 4. I'll be using the Sacred Forest Oracle deck today. Coming up, so one thing I do want to talk about, I know a lot of you are very familiar with Ellie Weisensel. She is a psychic medium. She is also a body code and emotion code practitioner. We're offering a class together. So this class is actually hosted by the station, which is fantastic. It means we can reach more on the platform and have space for more students. And the class is going to be about clearing negative energies, learning how to use a pendulum, learning how to use dowsing rods. So if you're interested, I did include that in the feed, but check it out. You can register on Eventbrite. You can find more information on my Chat with Charlie page, on Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive, and on Ellie's page, Ellie Weisensell Psychic Medium. So check those out. We really want to try and reach as many people as we can, because just like we were talking about with the paranormal, sometimes we do have to deal with negative entities, and where do we go? And how do we verify that the information when we're using divination tools is accurate? And so how to learn those tools and how to use them appropriately are all things we're going to be covering in the virtual class. So check it out, share it, please help spread the word. I would appreciate that. So today, you guys, you got to meet RezNeck. Next week on the 19th, we have fellow host of the self-care show, Deidre Sanford. She is also a certified root cause therapist. So save up those questions. Remember, you can always email me in questions at chatwcharlie.com if you think you might miss the live show, so that you can go back, watch on the podcast, and hear what she had to say. The 26th, we have the Lehigh Valley Medium, which I'm excited about because I am from the East Coast. I am from the Lehigh Valley. I've heard a lot about Matthew Camont, so I'm very excited to meet him and to have him on the show and offer him as a resource. Then in February, we will have Kelly Wagner. She is a psychic medium and owner of the Edge magazine, which is a huge resource, guys. So if you're looking for resources, if you're looking for that support, check out the Edge magazine. You can find that online. The 16th, we will have Dr. Gala Gorman, and the 23rd, Susan Michaels. So I will be putting out more information about those guests. Okay. Well, half the deck just went on the floor. So guess they don't want us to use those cards. We'll keep the ones that fell out on the table. Card number 1. So if you were looking for card number 1, it's talking about prosperity. And I do feel like in some ways this is not that you're going to, yes, Diana, I will call you after the show. All those cards on the floor are for you. It's going to be a long reading. So today, the prosperity card. This is talking about hard work paying off. I feel like if you asked for card number 1, you have been putting in a lot of work and putting in a lot of thought to ideas and to different outcomes, and things just haven't really panned out. They haven't played fully out. This prosperity card is not necessarily talking about you hitting the mega millions. It is talking about, welcome back, Courtney. It is talking about things coming into your life that you've been working hard, and those being prosperous, those starting to open up, and those starting to flow. So just know, if you picked card number 1, that you are moving into a time where you're going to see those things you've been working towards become prosperous and prosperous. Gosh, I can't talk. I'm sorry. And coming into fruition. The hard work is paying off. Card number 2 is renewal. And this is really not so much talking about taking that time for self-care and self-pampering, but I feel like with the renewal, they're talking about deep soul searching. They're talking about really connecting with your higher self, really connecting with those innate feelings, and letting yourself get rid of the old and making space for that renewal to happen. We cannot renew ourselves. We cannot fulfill these things that we need if we don't let go of the new. And so I want to say, if you are looking at card number 2, you have to create space, get rid of the old, and allow the opportunities for that renewal to happen. Card number 3, love. Everybody loves the love card, love. So if you picked card number 3, I'm hearing this is multiple meanings today. So I feel like a couple of you have picked card number 3. First, this does come in as love within a relationship. And I feel like it's both people working or a new person coming in, but allowing that love to happen, letting your guard down and just allowing that love to flow. It's also talking about love for self. So making sure that you are doing things to appreciate yourself, to love yourself. And it kind of goes back to that renewal, letting go of that old, not focusing on those old habits, moving into a place of grace and love and allowing that space for yourself. Because just like if we don't let go of the old BS, we can't move forward. We also don't move forward if we do not treat ourselves with grace. Not every day is going to be a great day. Not every day we might meet our goals, but having that grace, continuing to work and allowing that love for ourselves. And your last card is the wolf spirit, and it's family. Okay. And yes, we all have this family that we are born into, but I really feel like this card is coming in and talking about your soul group, talking about the family, just like RezNeck and I were talking about, this family that we create, that we have come in, that builds support for us. So build that family, build that support group, allow people to be members of your tribe and members of your family. Courtney, I do see your question. Does quadruple twos have a meaning for anything? I'm not sure. I'm not doing a reading show today, but there are some shows coming up like Wednesday. You could pop that on. Kelly Brickle does numerology, and that would be a great question for her. I do not do numerology, so I'm sorry. I thank everybody for tuning in. I hope you will keep checking out the podcast. You will keep sharing for this station, because like I said, we all just want to be here and be a resource for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Check out Wisconsin Caps, and I will see you all here next week with Deidre. Goodbye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.